Hey guys, welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be talking about flames. Compensation happened about a month ago and the whole system was revamped, making it easier to get higher tier flames and better overall flames. I won't go into the details of how buggy the system was before. You guys can look at other videos or links for that if you guys are really curious, because it's not really relevant to this video. But essentially, the flames were revamped, right? So I asked all my friends, guildies, anybody I can get my hands on, what are good flames now? We have a much better flame system compared before, and it's easier to get higher tier flames, and overall we get better flames than before. So what were good flames? And I didn't really get a concrete answer, and I searched far and wide across the web, and again, I was not able to find any concrete answer as to what flame I should be going for. So I've decided to compile my findings into this video. So let me start off by talking about what flames to use. Generally, if you are not going for super endgame, meaning you're not looking for perfection in all of your equips and you don't care about wailing out really hard, it's more efficient to use eternal flames, which are these flames right here, on pieces of armor and boss drops. So what that means is we don't want to use these flames on gollux or sweetwater. For gollux and sweetwater, I suggest we use powerful rebirth flame. The reason for that is gollux and sweetwater tend to get a lot worse flames, as you guys may know, compared to something like a CRA or an arcane. So to use something that is, I think right now in the auction house, they are 4 to 5 times more expensive. Let me check right now. So 7 mil right now per red flame versus eternal rebirth. Oops. Rebirth flame. So versus a 38 mil, it's a good 4 to 5 times the difference. So it's definitely not advised, unless you're going for perfection on all of your gear, to use eternal rebirth flames, because they're just so expensive and the cost adds up very quickly. So that's what I've been doing on most, if not all, my equips. Now that's not mean you can't use red flames on CRAs and arcanes, because you definitely can, and you can still get very good flames. But I think Eternals just give you a closer step into perfection, whereas a red flame would get you something that's slightly lower. It's not going to be a big crazy difference, but it's just going to be very min-maxing. So what exactly are we looking for in flames? Well, I've separated the categories into 4 major categories: CRAs, Sweetwaters, gollux, and arcanes. Now I'm also going to be talking about 3 tiers of what you're stretching for depending on your goal. So when you're first starting out and you're a kind of a noob and you're not really, I would say anybody below 40k stats, anybody that's below 40k stats is kind of, newbie and they're not really endgame. So for those people, for CRAs, I would suggest a minimum of 80. For Sweetwaters and gollux, I would suggest a minimum of 4% all stats, and arcanes, I would suggest a minimum of 120. And for people who are more towards my level, which is more towards the 60k stat range, and I would even say maybe 55k stat range, you can start stretching for those really good flames. For me personally, I settled mainly on my CRAs. I mostly settled on anything above 100 strength. Anything above 100 strength was keepable for me. For my Sweetwaters, I kept anything above 50 essentially. Actually, maybe 55. Yeah, I think it was like 55. So my Sweetwaters is just above 55. And for my gollux, I kept them above 48, around 47, 48 for most, if not all, of my gollux pieces. And then for my arcanes, I have basically 135s to 140s, depending on how you calculate it. And I have a really crazy shoe that's 160 essentially. So that's just something that just happened. I didn't really intentionally flame for this, but you know, anything I think above 135s is good for my level. We move on to the territory of mega whales. So people who are crazy funded and who are 70k stats. What do those people settle for? Well, I personally can't tell you because I have not been there. You know, I have not reached that level. So what I did was I asked a few of my friends what flames do they search for when they're flaming, and these people spend a lot more money than I do in this game. So, you know, they have a different standard than what I have. For CRAs, they were aiming for 120 to 140. For Sweetwater, they were aiming for 60 to 70. For gollux, they were aiming similarly for 60s, 65. And for arcanes, they were aiming anywhere from 160 to 180. I think they mostly use all Eternal Flames to try to flame this. I think it's still possible to roll some of these numbers on red flames, but it's gonna be extremely hard and it's gonna be very inefficient compared to just using Eternals when it comes to rolling for these type of endgame numbers. When I'm giving these numbers, it doesn't mean that we want 100 flat strength. It doesn't mean, okay, we want 100 plus 100 strength in the flame. What it means is, let's take a look at this top right here. So versus top, we have 52 and 6. So the conversion rate or formula for endgame players tends to be 1% all stat equals to 8 to 9 strength or whatever your main stat is. So right here alone, minimum, it would be 52 plus 48, which is 100. We introduced the line of attack power, and for mages, it'll be obviously magic attack power. So for something like this, it'll be 48 plus 5 times 2.5, which is the conversion ratio for attack to stat equivalencies. And we add another 48 for the 6% all stats at least. So this will be somewhat closer to the 110. When we're going for 100, we're not going for a flat 100. We're going for something that's a mixture of percentage all stat, attack power, and base strength or whatever your main stat is. And that's how we get these flame scores. So don't be tricked into thinking you have to get 100 flat strength or whatever. What we want is the overall bonuses based on this conversion ratio of 1 attack to 2.5 stats, and 1% all stat equals to around 8 to 9 stats. So yeah, hopefully this video helped you guys out. I was definitely searching for something like this to guide me when I was flaming. And now after using over 1,000 Eternal Flames after the whole revamp happened, I think I have a good enough knowledge base to say what is a good flame for whatever item we're talking about here. So yeah, make sure to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and I'll see you guys in the next video.